Welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight, where we shine the light and talk with business leaders from all over the world who are here sharing their expertise and wisdom so we can all grow together. I'm your host, Heidi Schalk, co-founder of HLH Growth Solutions, and we work with businesses to help them scale using outside-the-box visibility strategies. If you're new to this podcast, welcome. We're happy to have you here. Please stay to the end because we have a special gift just for you. But without further delay, I want to introduce you to my guest today. Her and I have been chatting. We've been having some fun behind the scenes. She is Turkish. My family background has some Turkish in it. So we bonded over that and our children. So I'm excited to dive in because she's a lot of fun. So you're in for a real treat today. So welcome to the podcast, Elvan Baker with Rubato Life. So welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm excited to just dive in. So Elvan, can you share a little bit about yourself, about the company Rubato and your role within it?
Absolutely. Well, this is Elvan Baker. I am a speech therapist by trade, and I started my career I was meant to be in a pediatric speech therapist. That was my passion. I did a lot of my clinical rotations in it. However, when I graduated back in entirely too many years ago that I will not be disclosing on a recorded podcast, where I lived, the only reasonable position I could find was in a skilled nursing facility. And I started and I truly fell in love with geriatrics. They got my sarcasm, they got my humor, and all of a sudden work became a place I wanted to be because it was fun. And I felt like I found my people. Fast forward a few years from there on, I found myself really problem solving for operations, wanting to understand how one can improve processes, how one could make things better for patient outcomes, but also for the therapists out there. And I was drawn to management. And over the course of the years, I've grown in quite a few leadership roles where I ended up in this role currently at Rubato Life, and I serve as their VP of Client Experience and Clinical Strategy. My day-to-day is quite different from one day to another. We are a health tech startup company that provides services, a data-driven product to lower stress levels in patients who have Alzheimer or Alzheimer's-like diagnosis. So much like in any other health tech startup, I do anything and everything and the kitchen sink. But most importantly, I feel like my most important role is to support the clinicians out there utilizing our product and support my CEO's vision and, leadership.
Thank you for sharing all of that. And we were talking a little bit about, I love that you said they understand your humor and your sarcasm, because we were just talking like, as I'm getting older, I'm over 50. We kind of, as we get older, we tend to lose our filters. And we learn that we get to have a little fun in life and not take things so seriously. So I can imagine that working in that space, you had a lot of fun with
Absolutely.
Patients. Can you share a little bit about Rubato? Exactly what type of tell us more about the products, and how long has the company been around so far?
I personally have joined the company about a year ago, but the company has been around for a little over 4 years, my understanding. Just because when an idea pops in a mind, it takes a little while to curate that and to bring it to life. And their first start was doing pilot studies and really testing out the product out there. So they've been around for about 4 years, but really hot and heavy, growing our business, reaching different rehab teams out there and growing our customer base about 2 years now. And what our company does is we have a music-based intervention innovation that delivers a data-driven, non-pharmacological solution to people who live with dementia, true dementia diagnosis, or those experiencing behavioral and psychological symptoms of dementia to reduce their stress levels, agitations, and behavioral symptoms of dementia as a byproduct of the need that's happening in the industry right now. It's $1 billion industry, so we are super proud and excited to be a part of the non-pharmacological part of the solution base. That's what we do. I do suspect us growing in different areas. I said this many times. I use the product myself. I'm a 42-year-old mother of 2. I work a high stress, very fast paced environment. It works for me. So I expect this product to be out and about in the public very, very soon.
Oh, that's very exciting. I can't wait to try it.
Yes, absolutely. Stress is in every part of our bodies, and we all operate with a certain amount of chronic amount of stress in our modern lives. And it's really hard to find solutions in our modern life because unfortunately, some way, somehow, when you look at the last 20, 30, 40 years, especially in a woman's life, stress keeps getting added more and more and more, and nobody's really finding solutions. So this is something that I'm very passionate about personally also, because I feel it in all cells of my body. And when the product worked, I also feel it in all cells of my body, and I'm able to operate better in other parts of my body, not just my professional life.
Amazing. So, Elvan, you made a transition from hands-on clinical
Mhm.
roles into
Mhm.
executive leadership as a health at a health care startup, which
Mhm.
you were taught, a health tech startup, actually. So, what prompted that shift, and what hurdles did you face as a woman moving into leadership?
Absolutely. I think that's a fantastic question. And I think as you and I were discussing prior to recording, this is a question that we all need to answer. Not that we owe it to ourselves to be able to out loud say it, but for lead properly and mentor the next generation of women who really aspire these, because it's not easy, but it's also so very worth it. What made the decision for me going from hands-on clinical care to more leadership roles was truly my desire to problem solve and improve processes. And as a standalone clinician, you become a part of the group that's doing and not solving the problem of how to get it done. Right. So to me, that was the desire, and that was the initial pivot. Over the years, I served in different leadership roles that all added to my ultimate decision to be where I'm at and to be a part of the innovation and a decision-making process. And I value that, and I'm humbled by it every day. And that's so very important for the next generation to also hear that. But when it comes to the hurdles, it's hard to talk about because I also have an added, I'm very lucky to say the least, because I ended up being with a partner who thinks I can rule the world. He truly feels like if everything dropped out right now and I was handed a task, start ruling the world, he feels I'm ready for it. That's a very lucky place to be. That's a very blessed place to be. I was also raised by parents who believed that also, if I wanted to get it done, I was going to get it done. And they felt like nothing should stand in my way. So those are very blessed places to be. However, there is the secondary part of my journey is that I'm an immigrant here. I come from a different minority background. It's not a minority that's very well known. I'm just surprised that you have Turkish in your family. That's very cool. But, there is that, right? Because I went in when I started my program for speech therapy, I was let know ever so politely that they usually do not accept people into speech therapy program unless English is your native language. And I feel comfortable enough to say that I'm near native, but I'm not native. It's just, I moved here when I was 18. So, there you start the hurdles one by one, right? Even from that point, I was faced with a little bit adversary. But going from there is no explanation as to how much time you need to put into this work to get the results out of it. There is no replacement for work. You got to work the work to get to where you want to get to. Unfortunately, there's no shortcut to it. If there was any, I didn't know it. I got here by working and putting it into myself and betting on myself and hoping and planning for its results. Having said that, that takes time and practice. And that's not something that we have in abundance as women, because we usually wear so many different hats. We actually have lack thereof. So going back to my first point, is probably the biggest hurdle for me was to learning to prioritize and learning to tell people around me what I'm prioritizing at the time and what I need help from them. So my hurdles, I am not sure if I was ever passed for a promotion because of my gender, but my hurdles were more within myself than anything else. That's number one. Number two, I come from a culture that highly values motherhood, being a good wife, being a good host. So I had to work through those pieces of who I am and who I enjoy to be and who I thrive to be able to carve out enough time to put the work so that the work pays off. Because we all have 24 hours a day. You don't have any more than I do. I don't have any more than you do. But again, as women, we are pulled in different directions. So I think, to me, my biggest hurdles were for me to prioritize who I wanted to be, how I wanted to be that person within the time constraint. And I had to learn something very early on that this might get some negative reviews. So here's a red flag. I'm giving it ahead of time. You can't have everything all at once. You can have everything, just not all at once. So you need to be able to say no, and not as a full stop no, but maybe no, not right now. But there will come a time for that too. So to me, biggest hurdles were on me, I want to say.
I love everything you said. So thank you for sharing all of that, because I believe it's all true. And kudos to you for, not listening to that. Chances are, just so going into the speech field, they usually don't bring in people that aren't their native language. Their number one language is English. And you worked through that. You made it happen. You weren't going to take that no.
No, I wasn't. And frankly, I'm very proud to say it. I say this all the time. I was one of the first people who passed the national test with the highest levels in my class. I was the very first one who landed a leadership role. If I had to bet, I was one of the ones who broke through that 6-figure before anybody else. Because yes, you can, but again, you can't listen to your own voice, that negative voice that comes on, tends to be at like 10 p.m. for me. You can't listen to that as much as you cannot listen to other people tell you what you can or cannot do.
Right. Yeah. And if you know that your negative voice comes in at 10 p.m., go to bed at 9:45.
No kidding, right? I said something that there's a song that nothing good comes after 2 a.m., right? And that's so true. Like, what are you doing at that hour? All that you're going to create is self-doubt and self-speech. And when you're tired and life tired you, rarely you're going to be like, I'm doing amazing. No, man, it's 2 and
self-sabotage time, right? That's nothing good can happen. Yeah.
Absolutely.
My daughter's
Absolutely.
16 and driving, and I'm trying to teach her, like, there are certain times in night, like, nothing good can happen after that.
Absolutely.
Just be home and off the road. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Elvan, what advice, no, before we get to advice, we're not even ready for that yet. Many talk about finding the right fit in a company. But you've talked about the naked truth of personal and professional growth. So what does finding a right fit mean to you?
I think for me, it comes from accepting who I am, accepting my strengths, and finding roles that plays into those strengths. Because first of all, I feel as therapists, usually there's a pretty specific corporate ladder roles that you follow rather than pivoting into these non-clinical roles. And I've realized that there's nothing worse in life than being able to climb the ladder or having climbed the ladder and only to realize you look back and it's been leaning against the wrong damn building. Like, you just can't do that to yourself. So what does that mean? Then you don't follow everybody else's path. You read yourself, you find your own strengths, and you find roles that fit those strengths so you can easily highlight them. Then you will also find roles and job tasks that you may not like so much, but you have the growth opportunity. Then you need to jump at those too, because I truly believe that life starts outside of your comfort zone. So if you have that stretch opportunity, you take that stretch opportunity. And again, even within that opportunity, you find your strengths in it so that you can highlight them, and you take the weaknesses and learn to grow from them. To me, that's been the biggest takeaway based on my career. Again, you're entitled to your pivot, but know what you're pivoting into. A lot of times I talk to the clinicians who are wanting to pivot out of the hands-on bedside roles, and they really are running away from what's in front of them, and they're willing to do anything. And I'm like, you don't understand. It's not I don't want to say it's not probably the right decision, but There's a huge difference between knowing what you're running away from versus what you're running into. And the latter tends to yield long-term success, while the first time only relieves the pressure for a while.
So true. I was actually talking to someone yesterday on this podcast about they hit burnout, and their number one response to that was, I need to sell my practice. You know, he has multiple practices, I need to sell. And actually, when luckily things came into his world, and he said that would have been a really probably a bad decision looking back. And he was able to navigate that. So I love what you just shared, because we really haven't talked about that. And chances are, if you're talking to clinicians and they're like wanting to look at something else, they're probably in burnout or really
100%.
Yeah. And or really close to it. And that's their only way of seeing to get through the burnout is, I need something different, where maybe it's not necessarily something different. It's just a different way, a different method, or what can I release? Maybe they're, and a lot of times it's because they're self-depleted. Their cup is completely dry. Their cup is completely empty, and they don't know how to take that time to fill it, because they're like, I don't have time. I don't have time to focus on me, you know? And many times it's just taking some time out for ourselves in order to fill our cup up, in order to like create that more space and open time and clarity on that next step. So thank you for bringing that up, because like I said, we haven't talked about that enough. We just talked about it yesterday, and I'm glad we're talking about it again. Because I think that's one piece. And, you know, for our CEOs, our founders, our people who are building businesses in the growth phase, you may hit that. Chances are you will hit that at some point, where you're feeling like, it's now holidays are coming up when we're recording this. There's another piece that's added to the mix of the chaos that can show up in our lives. So when you meet organizations looking to adopt your products, your solutions, what are the key indicators that you look for to ensure that there's a strong fit and the process will succeed?
I think for us, what's been really important as we are growing our company, our processes are growing, we're flexible, we're adjusting, we're wanting to understand not only a specific customer, but that customer within the industry, but also our product within that customer and then within the industry, right? So it's a lot of learning. And one of the beauties about my position and anybody who works in a health tech startup is the ability to build a plane while in flight. So that takes a lot of zooming in, zooming out at a very fast pace and making sound decisions. So for us, what has worked so far is collaboration, interdepartmental collaboration. It's super important for us. It's important for us at all times to be aligned with our CEO's vision, our CTO's abilities, but also for me, for example, as the person who takes the customer from the business development or the sales side, to be able to say, okay, I understand you went through a sales cycle, but now I want to understand what will make you our customer for the long run, because sometimes priorities can be different from each other. Every department needs to, push for their priorities. So, we have to do those adjustments, and we have to do the adjustments by being honest with the customer. So to me, that's been very important. I have gone to our customers many times over the course of the year and said, hey, I know this is what you were presented. We have made some changes, and I want you to know what those changes are in case you want to change your mind. We would love to have you as a customer, but I want to be transparent from the get-go. Said that many times. Most of the time, transparency gets us way farther than what we fear it's going to hold us back from. We've done that. I went to the customers and said, hey, look, I know you signed an agreement with us, but the new version is going to come up in 2 months. I know you want to have the product in your hands tomorrow. May I recommend, as a ex-clinician who's selling this for the clinicians to use, that you guys wait? And usually, again, that transparency builds the trust, and that trust turns into a successful partnership.
Yeah, I love that. Transparency is huge. And I think many people fear. I'm big on transparency too, because I feel like, it just builds a really great foundation between you and your partner, between you and the partnership of the client and your customers.
I mean, we have fall throughs. It happens all the time.
Right. And they'll trust you more when something does happen.
Yeah, it happens.
If something
when
does
was the last time your iPhone failed you? I mean, It's going to happen.
Gonna happen, right? And then when you already have that built-in trust and that transparency, then they're more forgiving, right? They're more lenient. They're because they know that you're gonna fix it and solve it. And they also feel like you have this open door where they can come to you too when they have more questions and when they have more if they're having some challenges. You talked about the alignment with your CEO's vision. How important do you believe is the internal culture of a company in regards to the outward success? Does that make sense?
It makes all the sense. It's making me stop and think. A few days ago, maybe about a week ago, I put a LinkedIn post about clarity. You need clarity and you need clarity. And it's going to sound a little bit like a juxtaposition to each other, but you need clarity that's evolving. Why? Product is evolving, industry is evolving, investors are evolving, our idea of healthcare is evolving, therefore we need to evolve with it. So you can't give up evolution, but you need clarity. For clarity to happen, again, you need that transparency and you need that at all levels within the company. It's very important for me to understand my CEO's priorities and what his vision is. I would like to understand it, what his vision is for immediate future and also for long-term success. That's the only way. The only way to start tomorrow is putting the foundational steps today, right? So I got to understand and we got to adjust with each other. And sometimes we go back and forth where I get a different feedback from the field and I go back to him and say, hey, I know this is what you were hoping, but this is what is really happening. Is that really fitting with your vision, or does your vision need to be adjusted, or does our work processes need to be adjusted? It's okay to have those conversations, but again, within the company culture, I have the luxury to be able to go to him and say those things. Yesterday, I called him and I said, yeah, 5 minutes. And he said, of course, he always has 5 minutes for us. And I said, this is what happened going forward. This is what I'm going to do in case this happens again. And that's that. And I said, this may not be my reaction in 6 months, but this is what it is today. And he said, this is very reasonable. It makes sense. I didn't think about it like that. Perfect. Let's move forward with this.
Yeah, perfect. You have transparency with your CEO and vice versa. And like we were talking about trust with your clients is important, but it starts within your company first. If your employees and your team members trust you and vice versa, then the outward success is going to reflect that. And you're going to attract the clients that you want to work with too, that have that same, that have the same core values, that your similar core values that you do as well. Yeah, I love that. So can we pivot a little bit toward marketing and visibility? Because that's a big piece of the company. You mentioned being on LinkedIn, you're posting on LinkedIn. So for Rubato Life itself, like, how are you getting in front of these clinicians, in front of your partners or your clients? How are you getting in front of them? How are you being visible? I'm guessing you're not the only game in town for what you do. So how are you standing out amongst your competitors? What has worked for you in some areas? And if you could share too, like what things you've tried that just didn't work for you? Because some things that didn't work for you work for other companies and vice versa. So I love hearing both sides of the coin.
Absolutely. And I think to what we do, in our company, we do have a marketing executive and we do have a sales executive. Thankfully, I'm not them, it's them, because everybody's everybody's best at what they do. I believe in our company and they're in the right seat currently. But what has worked for us is we have a micro level and a macro level. Our product is currently being utilized by rehab teams in skilled nursing facilities or subacute rehabs. So we do one-on-one cold calling and reaching, but we also do main company introductions. Then, it trickles down to different teams within that company. But LinkedIn has been huge help. Another part of our strength is we have true clinical studies that uses Rubato product out there, because our CEO's vision is really that we are not this startup company that sells a story. He really wants to sell what is truly working. And when it comes to people's health, the way to prove that it's really working, you have two ways of doing it: true research, which is based on science, and testimonials of users and patients. So that for us, that's how we accomplish what we want to accomplish. Currently, we have 2 studies, one out of St. Elizabeth in Boston And we are just actually starting. I'm hoping to fly out and meet the team, but with Brown University, we just got an NIH grant, and that's been one of our marketing tools, because we are giving this to the hands of the clinicians. One of the landmarks of being a good clinician is evidence-based practice. They want to see the research. They want to, again, they don't want to buy a storyline. They really want to buy a product that is going to work. And it's proven that has validity, that it has worked. So that's a few different ways that we have done. Of course, we do high-level introductions. We get that, thankfully, with different investors. But we're always wanting to connect with, more teams out there, the more the merrier. And it's not from a perspective of growth, but also perspective of this non-pharmacological solution being accepted and being an accepted standard of care in dementia world. To me, that's very important. So, we connect with different clinicians out there. We do webinars, just all sorts of different ways.
It's perfect. So we touched on the visibility piece of it and marketing and what's working. Is there anything that you've done that hasn't worked? And maybe the marketing team is the team to answer that question. I don't know.
I know that they had a difficulty. Cold calling has been the most difficult one, because unless somebody introduces you to an idea, everybody's busy, and it's really hard to gain traction. It becomes a very hard sales cycle, because you're cold calling and you're selling an innovation of the use of a product that is not very well accepted so far in the field. So it's a little bit harder. So it's not like you're calling hospital and offering them a different laundry service, which is a well accepted service. You're calling the rehab teams and trying to talk to them. So it's a harder sales cycle.
Yeah.
To do that one-on-one.
Yeah. And your webinars, that's a lead gen factor for you?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Another part of it, we also use our applicant pool. Just recently I posted a job and we got over one website that chose to highlight the position that we put. They received over 500 clicks. Wow. So, all of those therapists who are looking into working with us, they also know somebody, they might be interested in the product to use it in their everyday bedside work. So that's another lead generation for us. We are interested in partnering with all the right clinicians who can promote the product and use it to the benefit of people with dementia.
Beautiful. So what's next for Rubato? Say for the next 12 months, what are your big goals?
I think our biggest goals right now is continue to scale properly and professionally, and do it the best way we can do, and deliver our promise, not just to our partners as customers, but to our patients who are using this, so that truly we can bring the non-pharmacological music-based intervention to their life and provide a sense of, I don't want to use the word hope. It feels too victimized. That's not the word I want to use, but bring a sense of alternative solution to what's already been out there and existing the last 20 years that really hasn't made a difference in anyone's life. And so that's next. Of course, we have the Brown University study, the NIH grant that's going to start within a month or two. So that's very exciting for us. We want to see the initial results from that and continue all our efforts with the customers and research partners.
If I could give you a magic wand and you can wave it over one challenge, one issue you're having right now that could hold you back from achieving your goals, what would it be that you could go poof and make disappear? What would it be and why?
You're not probably asking personally, because I might just ask for money.
Oh, you'd ask for money?
No, that's not what you're asking. You're asking professional.
I'd want that too, but it's all good.
One magic wand. Currently, probably for me, the biggest, when I became aware of the product, I did my research. I did my research on the product. I did the research on music-based interventions on dementia. It's already a subject that I knew somewhat well, because I'm a certified brain injury specialist. So I understand how brain works and neurology works. I have a very good understanding, but then add music to it. So I did all of that research, and I did the research about the product and the company. I bought right into it. This was one of the few times in my life where I heard something, I read about it, I did my research, and I'm like, click, 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 click. It makes sense. Right now, our biggest hurdle as the clinical department is probably to be able to relay the same level of buy-in from the customer clinician and to be able to relay it at a speed that's reasonable for their day-to-day clinical flow, but also for their day-to-day business operations flow, to get their buy-in so that this can be used as much as possible, as consistently as possible to achieve results.
So I have two more questions for you, Elvan. What if we could revisit this conversation a year from now and bring you back? What does success look like for you? And also, what does success look like for Rubato Life?
Ooh. For Elvan, success will not actually look like any type of title or money. And I really say this from the bottom of my heart. I feel very content with both of those things in my life. Success will mean better prioritization, which will mean better work-life balance. That's what will mean for Elvan. What will it mean, Elvan, within this role is probably smoother processes, smoother operations, not worrying about things that I cannot control, that are out and about, that really keep me awake. And for Rubato Life, what will success mean? Of course, as always, again, more customers, so that we can get the word out, because a part of having a bigger customer base and scaling this product is using it with as many patients as possible out there. But that means also using it with different, different cases, different diagnoses, different patient populations, so that we can get this product to as many people as possible to see the same benefit that I have seen over the course of a year of using the product. So to me, that's probably, if I could combine everything, Elvan's personal goals and Elvan's professional goals, and, find a way to meld that into Rubato's life, that I think that would be it, is how can we reach more people so that we can really show how well this works to the world.
Perfect. And last question, Elvan, what advice would you give to women who have the potential and ambition, but feel stuck or unsure about their next move?
I think I have two answers for that. One, for those who are in a, for those who choose to be in a partnership, relationship, choose your partner well. It's been proven over and over and over again that it's not the family you come from, it's not the Ivy League college, it's not your inheritance, it's not how fast you climb the ladder. The biggest predictor of your professional success is actually how your partner sees you and how your partner supports you in whatever you want to do. That's one answer for those who want to be in a relationship. Not everybody has to do that, and that is more than okay. For those who will not have that, is very alike, is to know who you surround yourself with. Life, so much so of it, in my opinion, much like a tennis match. Even when you're playing for pleasure, you always want to play with people who are just a little bit above you, who you aspire in one aspect or another in life. So please surround yourself with those people so that you have something to look up to in a positive manner, not in a jealous manner, but a positive manner, and people who are willing to show you where they're at and where you're at and help you meet that gap.
Beautifully stated, beautifully said, Elvan. Thank you for that advice. Can you share with us how everybody can connect with you and get to learn more about you and also Rubato Life?
Absolutely. Our website, rubatolife.com, rubato-life.com. That's your first step. You can go there. We love it if you just stop by there and start poking around. Another thing, we would love it if you can start following us on LinkedIn at rubato-life. And personally, you can follow me on LinkedIn at Elvan Baker, obviously. And my work email is elvanb@rubatolife.com.
Perfect. We have all of Elvan's information, her contact information, all that good stuff inside of the show notes as well. So make sure you go grab that there and connect with her. She's pretty amazing, as you've just heard. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. We both appreciate it. And we say hi. Thank you for sticking here with us and listening to our conversation. If you know of someone who would benefit from Rubato Life, their products, Please share this with people. I'm sure that it would make a big difference in their life. And please share if you know of anybody that would benefit from Elvan's message here today about leadership, not only their products, of course, and as well as, stepping into navigating some pivots and some redirects. And please share her as well, share this episode with them so they can benefit from hearing her. And we'd love for you to subscribe to the channel. That allows us to ping you whenever we have amazing guests like Elvan here today, sharing their story, sharing their journey, and sharing their the companies that they're with. Also, if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, thank you. We would love a review. If you could hit that 5-star and also leave a review, we'd appreciate it. That helps the platforms push this podcast out to more people. Our goal is to see businesses, startups, people in the growth phase succeed and grow. That's why we have our amazing guests on the show, and we need your support to do that. I promised y'all a gift, so here it is. If you're looking to grow your visibility, Elvan just shared what's been working for them and also what's not been or some challenges they've faced as far as getting out there and marketing. If you feel you've been trying things and you're just having some challenges, feel free to go grab our Spotlight to Scale blueprint. It's free. It's just for you. You can go to spotlighttoscale.com/blueprint and grab that. Elvan, is there anything before we wrap, any last words you'd like to share that I didn't get to ask you or we didn't touch on today?
No, I think you've covered everything. Thank you so much. It's been a huge pleasure to be a part of your podcast. And I recommend people to just look. If you want to start somewhere, the best place is the mirror. And I know it's going to take years. But where else are you going to be? Just put the work into it.
Yeah, it's amazing how, it takes years to make a big change, but it's amazing how in 30 days from now, in 60 days from now, in 90 days, you're going to see these small, incredible shifts that make big changes. And you're going to see those big changes and shifts show up in your life in different ways. Maybe it's like Elvan was saying, different people are going to show up that you're surrounding yourself with. You never know. And that's going to give you those big leaps that you're looking for. Trust also, that transparency and trust, asking for help, everything that Elvan shared today comes along with that. So that's a beautiful way to end. Thank you so much, Elvan. I love that. Start in the mirror. Thank you all for listening to us today. Thank you, Elvan, for being an amazing guest. It's been such an honor having you on and getting to know you. So thank you. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Business Growth Spotlight. Have a wonderful, fantastic day.